our panelists have joined in for the session. Can we have your videos on, please? Okay, great. So good evening all, and welcome to another informative session on Shiksha. I'm Bhagyashree Gupta, your moderator for this session. And firstly, I would like to welcome both the panelists for today's session. So welcome Swarnadeep from IIM Calcutta and Mayank from IIM Bangalore. Thank you for joining us today for this session. So I would request both of you to kindly introduce yourselves to all our students here. Swarnadeep, you can start off.
And I joined MBA this year itself. I'm an electronics and communication engineer. I was born and brought up in Kolkata. So I'm a person who loves to be very observant of things. And I'll be interning at Bank of America as an equity research analyst this summer. And so I take a lot of interest in trading, especially in derivatives. And my hobbies are playing cricket and, I'm an ardent Sudoku solver.
Great. Thank you, Swarnadeep. Mayank, we would like you to introduce yourself to all our students, please.
Okay. Hi, I'm Mayank, currently a PGP1 student. I am Bangalore. Before this, I was an electronics engineer at Samsung Research and Development. I worked there for 3 years. And yeah, so pretty much like I'm interested in sports. And apart from that, I like TV series, movies. And on top of that, about internship, so I will be interning at Tata Administrative Services. And yeah, so that's pretty much about me.
Great. Thank you so much, Mayank. So, all right, we can start with this, today's session. And we'll be covering about the GDPI preparation after you give your CAT exam. So, I would start with you, Mayank. Please share your PI experience. How was it all about after you appeared for your CAT exam? So, how was the entire process?
So basically, right after the CAT exam, I think I relaxed for a month or so, and in January I started for preparation for GD and PI. So GDs again, since there was no GDI in any of the institutes that I applied for, so I didn't bother much about that. I focused mainly on PI, and on top of that for VAT, because I'm Bangalore, took VAT. So that was the one thing, and yeah, so on a holistic level, I would say the PI preparation has two parts. I believe 50% is already done. Like before, it's an ongoing process. Like when you are going through your things, when preparing through CAT, or even you are in that mindset. So you learn various things, and even through your life events, you correlate things. So that I think that 50% part is already done, and rest of the 50% part you do after. Like that is the one that is deliberately people do. Like all about how to answer the questions, and relative revise the concept studies in undergraduate, and yeah, current affairs and all. So yeah, on a broad level, that is the strategy.
Okay. So Mayank, we would also like you to please share your CAT 2020 percentile with all of the students here.
Okay. So my percentile overall, it was 99.76. And subjectively it was I think in VARC it was 99.54, and DILR it was 94.89, and in QA it was 99.67.
Okay, so moving to Swarnadeep, we would like to share, listen to your experience of PI. How was it, and what all special preparation you did before appearing for that?
So very similar to what Mayank said, it is a process, where you have a lot of self-realization while preparing. So for me, I think there was nothing as such specific, but I just spent 15 to 20 days with a lot of self-introspection, because I think most of the HR questions that are being asked in the interviews, they just try to test how well do you know yourself, how much clarity do you have about the kind of goals you're pursuing. So it was that phase. I think more than the preparation part of it, what I enjoyed was I discovered a new self. When I was asking the right questions to myself, when I was asking myself about what realistically I want to do, why I want to do an MBA. So that was a phase where I think there was a lot of self-realization going on, and that is something which I really enjoyed. Apart from that, I think, as Mayank pointed out, that there are some good habits, like keeping up with the current affairs, and having a good idea of whatever you have done in your life and how to sell yourself. That is something which already helps you. But in case if you haven't done all these things, then I think the 2 month time period that one has is like more than enough to prepare and make up for all these things.
Okay. So, like talking about the PI interview, what are the common topics or what are the common things that generally, students are being asked during that interview? If you could, both of you could share on that.
So I'll go first on that. I think the most important thing is why do you want to do an MBA? I mean, when they are asking you for a PI, it is obviously given the fact that you have already prepared quite hard for your CAT, and you are done with that part where they are testing your ability to analyze things through the LRDI quants and VRC section. So there is no question of your ability in doing such things. But what is being checked is the subjectivity and the attitude that you bring in. So the very purpose of doing an MBA should be very, very clear before appearing for an interview. It is also to be understood that there might be candidates who probably do not think that really have the profile, which as people describe that you have to have some good achievements, or let's say some good brands in your CV, or good colleges for that matter. But I think what matters most in this aspect is when you don't have all these things, it's how you sell yourself, it's how you cover up for that. If every person has sort of individuality in them, and I think what we need to do is bring out that individuality in the interview.
Okay. So moving to you, Mayank, what would you suggest? What are the common questions that you also got during the interview?
Like, I think, first of all, it starts with introduce yourself. So that question, the answer to that question has to be a complete story. Like how you started, what motivated you, and how you ended up at that place. Like why you're sitting in front of the interviewer right now and giving this interview. So it has to be, a logical, coherent story. And apart from that, yeah, definitely why MBA. That is again, like that has to be a well prepared answer with minimum loopholes and some bits and pieces to throw so that you can guide the interview in your direction. So yeah, those are the two main questions. And apart from that, there are, it depends on the domain wise from what is the background of the candidate. So based on that, like if the candidate an engineer, so they're going to ask them from that background.
Okay.
So yeah, that is the common thing and all.
So did you also face some kind of tricky questions during that interview? So if you had, so how did you like figure it out, the entire thing? I like to know from both of you.
Okay, so yeah, like I mean, yeah, tricky question definitely. Like they can ask anything out of the blue because I remember in my IIM Kozhikode interview, they asked me the name of the road beside my college. Like I studied at Jadavpur University, and they asked me like what is the name of the road in front of that in like that college. So things like that, and in like IIM Ahmedabad interview, they started asking me about quantum mechanics that I haven't studied at all. So it's like they can throw anything at you, and like it's your choice. If you can answer it, or you can gracefully say just that like no, I haven't came across through this.
Right. So how was your experience with the tricky questions, Varnadeep?
Yeah, so I remember that it was a time for the Bengal elections last year during this time, and almost every interview where I went in, I faced this question of people getting and nudging me to sort of share my political opinions. So that was from my side. It had to be dodged diplomatically. I'm pretty sure that most people from Bengal face those kind of questions. Apart from that, having these top B schools call in Ahmedabad and Calcutta both, I think I got this question that why will I join one over the other, and what are my priorities for joining. So again, that was somewhere where I had to dodge it diplomatically, and thankfully I converted both.
Great. Okay, so now after this PI thing, we'll like to talk a bit about the GD preparations, like what topics students need to prepare for GD, and how do you frame your arguments also during the GD? If you could start with that, Smarnadeep.
Yeah, so the GD will mostly be dependent on the current affair topics, and if it is not a current affair topic, it will probably be an abstract topic where they might ask about your opinion. So the first things first, if it's a current affairs topic, you have to be very well read about the topic, because it is understandable that you cannot really sit in a room filled with intelligent people and not knowing the facts of the topic. So for current affairs, please try to keep up with the current affairs. And for abstract topics, so it is the individuality that you bring in, what sort of perspective and opinion you bring in. Apart from that, there are a few hygiene checks which candidates has to maintain in the GD. For example, you will have to keep your inputs short and well spaced out throughout. Also, you'll have to allow the other persons to talk and maintain the basic decorum of not interfering into someone's speech suddenly. So these are the things which one needs to keep in mind.
Right. And Mayank, what would you like to suggest, like preparing for GD? What kind of topics and what kind of arguments students need to give?
I think Swandeep has put that quite nicely. Just like adding one thing, like that, like it is given that you have to be well read, and it like GD is as much about the facts as it much about the etiquette. So you have to be graceful, and you have to be like not cutting people, not to be appear rude, or not to be dominating the GDs. You have to put your point succinctly and then leave the floor for others to provide their input.
Okay. Okay. So I think a lot of students would want to know more about the GDPI thing and what are the common questions like people ask during the PI also. Okay, let's take up some questions that we have in our Q&A section. So I just want to know, Siddharth is here asking, like, can you elaborate on what kind of candidates the top IIMs are looking for? Like if they screen out the students, the candidates, what kind of impression do they look out for? If you could start with that, ma'am.
Okay,
So
so
from
I'll
my,
go ahead with.
yeah, sure. Mind you, go ahead.
Okay. So like okay, so one thing is that like when you are sitting at the place and you have got the call, so it's not that they only want specific students. It's that like they want you to take in, and you have to give them reason to not to take you in. By so it's like if they're asking questions, like, and you are giving the correct answers, so you have as good chances as anybody else. So it's not like they are looking for specific candidates. It's just that they're looking at your answers. If they're satisfied with that, they will take you in. Otherwise, they won't.
Okay, and Swarnadeep, what would you like to add on that?
Yeah, I think Mayank has pretty much summed it up. It's more of a selection process than an eliminative process. So they're looking to select you for reasons. And I think the most important aspect in this is, being able to think on your feet. So they'll probably try to dismantle you with some questions here and there. But what they check is the kind of attitude that you have when you don't know answers to a question, or what sort of clarity and purpose that you have in life. So anybody who has all these things sorted out need not worry about their profile and stuff.
Okay. So, Smarnadeep, we have a question particularly for you because there's a student, Mayuri, who has her IMC interview tomorrow, and she wants to know, can you tell something more about IIMC?
So historically, it has been seen that IMC is like famous for asking quants questions during the interview. So they might just ask you to plot some random function, or they might ask you simple mathematical or graduation stuff. So I would say that there's a every chance that it will be a very academic intensive interview. So in these kind of situations, obviously, one day is not enough to prepare. But I would say that just be cool and confident, because I have seen students, a lot of them, without being able to ace all the questions, academic questions, still go through, because it's the kind of confidence that they bring into the table. So even if you're not very sure about something or an answer, you might always oblige them by saying that you can take an intelligent guess, or you might go for something where you are showing your presence of mind. Just don't be very nervous and go into wrong things.
Right. So, Mayank, moving to you, the same thing I would like to ask you, like if someone has to appear for IIM Bangalore, so how would you, suggest him to prepare oneself before appearing?
So, like IIM Bangalore. So, as it is, it was my experience, and like as I have heard from others as well. So, IIM Bangalore interview is the most structured one.
Okay.
So they will take really long interview. My interview went for around 35 minutes. And they
Mhm.
will ask questions around you, like from what you have done, your job, your what you have studied in undergrad, or what are your hobbies. I remember like we were discussing on about Dan Brown books because I mentioned that in my SOP. So like that all, but like, it was very much relevant to me. But yeah, there were lots and lots of cross questions.
Okay, so I
My
think
actually,
yes, please continue.
so like adding to that, like I would also like to share my IIM Calcutta interview. So in
Sure.
that, actually, I was given a really long quants problem. I think it was based on dartboard. That it was, like how can a candidate score 100 points in 5 dart throws. So that, like, I think, well, it was a big question. And so one thing I did was like I started thinking out aloud. So when I was solving the question, I was telling them what all I'm doing. So yeah, and like they appreciated that, and ultimately I converted that as well. So
Okay. So I think a lot of students here are also wanting to know that if they have been asked a question and they have to deny it, or you have to say no during that. So what would be the proper way of conveying your answer to the interviewers? How would they answer that time? So I would request any of you would like to take that up.
So I'll take that up. So I think,
Sure.
see, that the smile and the confidence is the game changer. I mean, if you know an answer to a question, like if your answer is yes, the kind of smile and confidence that you have while spitting out the answer to the question, the same kind of confidence and smile you should have while even not knowing a question. I shouldn't be able to figure out from your facial expression whether you know or don't know it.
Okay. And Mayank, if you would like to add something on that?
Yeah, I like Swandeep, like that's the answer that I would have given to as well. So that's
Okay. So let's move on to some other points as well. So please also tell us about the WAT, the written assignment thing that happens. Please also tell us about that.
coming to that, I think that has a fixed structure, I believe. So like if you are going to write that, you have to divide the your essay in three parts. So first part would be like I think what I used to go by was first of all elaborate a topic a bit, just explain it, and the second could be the consequences, pros and cons, and the last paragraph would be just the conclusion. Because like in IIM Bangalore, we only get I think 250 or 300 words. So that like that is enough, and you can't write even more than that, more than the given limit. So that. And I think in IIM Ahmedabad interview, we were given just a one page, and we could write on the only one side of it. So again, since it was a physically written, so you can again manage some based on your handwriting, but again the structure is same, and try to fill the whole page to the last line.
Okay. So during the registration also, we got some questions from the students. Like one of them wanted to know how to get admission in top universities for MBA, like IIM. So what should be their main focus areas if they want to get enrolled themselves? So if you would like to start, ma'am, on that.
Going on that, I think there are three main parts. One is CAT, another is definitely GDPI, and the third part is your profile building. Because like students don't know at this stage, but there are many things that go on after you get into IIMs. So yeah, so CAT again, you have to really be focused on that because it has become more and more competitive over years. More and more people are taking it. So that is one where you should put your considerable effort. And GDPI again, like after you are done with CAT, you can start with that. And yeah, while you are doing it, while you are starting to plan for an MBA from an IIMs, from so you have to like start reading from that time onwards. Start reading any newspaper. The Hindu I would suggest would be the best. And yeah, profile building again. So that's like I mean, it's not just that you do courses and all. You also try to be quantific in quantitative terms. What you did and what was the effect of that. So based on that terms, you have to like keep a journal of that, and that would really help. So even I'm interview and after that.
Okay. So Swarnadeep, would you like to add something on that as well?
Yeah, I think he has pretty much summed it up. Also, try to build some network. I mean, if you can slip into the DMs of people who are already studying in IIMs just to get a feel of how things look like and what all you can do. So you can just keep up with them and also try to grab every opportunity. Like he said, talked about profile building. So every what internship that you get or every project opportunity that you get, try to jump onto that and learn something from that. That will help a lot.
Okay. So also we have a question from Shikha who wants to know what is the average percentile to get into IIM? I mean, she wants to know that only a 99 percentile would get into IIM or there is an average cutoff thing that goes there. Yes.
So like okay, I would like to answer that question.
Sure,
So
please.
Sikha, like I don't think you should be focusing on average percentile. I think you should be focusing on whatever maximum you can score. Because percentile and all are again, they change. Average percentile will change, and there are other factors as well. If you have had look at the application rating criteria, so they they like, weigh different things. They weigh your 10th marks, 12th marks, your graduation. So, at this point, your focus should be on, whatever maximum that you can score. Because, it's given the other parameters, it becomes subjective to each candidate. Some candidate can, get a call at 99.5 as well, and other candidates don't get call at 99.8.
Okay. So Swarnadeep, if you have something to add
Yes,
on
I
this.
mean, I completely agree with Mayank. You can only control the controllables. There are a lot of uncontrollable factors like board marks, your graduation scores and all those things, work X and stuff. But again, the only control that you have is just giving your best. And as it is, percentile is a thing that depends on the performance of others as well, which is again not in your control. So the only thing you can control is give your best, and that is what I would advise.
Great. So, a lot of students also have raised a question that, how they take a year's gap for preparing CAT. So they just want to know that, is it like justifying, giving a gap and then preparing for the exams and then appearing for the IIM procedures. So there's a gap in between. So how do you justify that? Is it okay or not?
Well, if someone is planning to take a gap, then I won't recommend that. But again, if someone has already taken a gap, then again, it is not a big barrier for entry to any IIM. What I would say is you have to justify it in a way that you have tried out new skills, you have taken some time off and taken that year for learning. So it's not just that you can learn in your work ex, but you can also learn without the work ex. If you are showing enough productivity throughout that year, if you have done things, quantifiable things which you can show that yeah, these are the things I've done in the year. So for, let's say, for example, if someone who's interested in finance takes a gap year and goes and appears for CFA, so that is again a very quantifiable gap where they have built a new skill or they have learned something new. So that way you can justify that gap.
Right. And Mayank, if you would like to add something on this.
Yeah, like the same as Swarndeep, you have to, be productive at the time, and you have to present that, like, even though it was a gap, you weren't associated to something, like work X or studies, but you were doing something productive at that time. And also, again, like, I won't recommend taking gaps because, like, I mean, it might not affect your IM interviews or getting admission into that, but there are other places where it can, prove to be, at disadvantage.
Also, there are people who are asking like how to get into IIM without appearing for CAT. I mean, is that possible? Is there a second option for that? If you would like to answer on this.
I think international students can get through GMAT, but apart from that, I don't think, like, that's the procedure. You take CAT, you appear through the GDPIs, and then you make it. That's all.
Okay. All right. So they also want to know more about WAT. What are the common topics that comes there and how they can go more about it, preparing for that. So if you would like to, or Swarnidhi would like to take on that.
Sure. So as I said, I mean, the topics will be very much evolving around what is happening right now. So anyways, you have to keep up with, especially the business topics, the economic topics. These are the topics which are hot favorite candidates, hot favorite selections for the IIM. So you have to keep up with reading the newspapers daily. So I would recommend reading a general newspaper like, let's say, Hindu or Times of India, along with a finance-specific newspaper like the Mint or Economic Times, to get an idea of what is happening in the business world. And also, while structuring your VAT, follow something called a pestle approach. So if you are given something, then you write about the political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal aspects of that particular. So whatever you do, follow a consistent framework. So that will reflect in your answers, and that will definitely provide some quality to your entire answer.
So moving on to the next question, what are the different majors we can see in different IIMs? If Mayank, you could answer on that.
So majors, like, as much I know about all IIM Bangalore and other IIMs, so we don't have any fixed stream as such. So it's like we have electives and we can take it from any domain. It's the bidding system and we can bid on, like, whatever course we want. So they don't provide any specific majors as such. The final degree given is like general MBA, but it depends on you on what type of study, on what type of subjects that you can take. So I think in Ahmedabad and Calcutta, you can take electives only in second year, and in Bangalore, you can take it I think right away from term 3. So in a year we have 3 terms. So in first and second, the courses are core. We can't choose, and they are fixed. And from the third term, like we can take electives.
Okay. Okay. So also, can you suggest certain books or resource materials for preparing CAT exams? For next upcoming CAT exams, if you could suggest certain resource material or books.
So starting with that, I think the basics can be done from Arun Sharma, and then one should start attempting mocks, because mocks are the thing, because CAT again is as much about the concepts as it much about the strategy. So mocks helps you with that. So
Yeah.
one should take lots and lots of mocks. I would say, I think it's better if you can take 50 plus mocks. And so brush up the basics, because concepts are not that high. Most of the topics have already been covered while in class, till 10th. There's nothing advanced here. It's just the practice and the strategy.
Okay. So anything would you like to add on that?
I think I completely agree with my strategy was completely based on mocks. I would say work on your mocks, and if you're weak in one particular section, which very often people are, so try to give more sectional mocks of that particular section. Keep an equity in your preparation, because again you have to cross the threshold in every section. So try to keep up with all the sections properly.
Moving on to my next question is, what points should be included in SOP to make it stand out? If you could start with that.
Okay.
So I think, Mayank, you can take that. You can take that.
Yeah, I think IIM Bangalore is the one that before that you have to apply with SOP. So one thing, so the basic structure I would tell you, like what few people do is they tell their story of the life, like from right after they were born, or they think about the studies and how they ended up, or how they wish to end up at IIM Bangalore. And the other thing could be answer first why IIM Bangalore, why MBA, and then about your life. So the thing that stands out here is like, what are the extra things that you have done, and how relate more to the place. Because I've seen some people, they start their SOP with slogans and all. Because I remember particular one SOP where the person was describing about the IIM Bangalore logo and how that resonated with the person.
Okay.
So those are the few points, the standard case is again, like you write about your life story and why MBA, or if you can think of something abstract like that logo thing, or anything, I guess, or the architecture of IIM Bangalore, like they say that it's based on Fatehpur Sikri, so you can leverage on those points, then that's a plus.
Okay. So Swarnadeep, your take on this?
Yeah, I agree with Mayank. I mean, whatever you do, it should be a very personalized document. SOP is something like, if I take out a line from your SOP, I shouldn't be able to reciprocate that line in my SOP. That is how personalized I think an SOP should be. So it should be completely relating to your life and your experience, rather than writing some generic stuff which everybody else can probably write.
Okay, so we have another question from Ajay Pathak, and he wants to know how to justify a KT in graduation. So if you would start on this.
I think by KT he means knowledge transfer, right?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so like, I mean, so like if a KT, that means like you have held some key position in your UG, and that's why you're transferring knowledge about that to somebody else. So that
So
again comes. Yeah.
So I think he is asking about not clearing a subject, getting a back in a particular subject. He probably wants to know more on that.
Back in paper.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So again, yeah. So I think it's better to like come as you did it. So initially, yeah, there were other things that you focused on, and that's why you were not able to focus on this particular thing. And so that's why you couldn't clear it. But then you learned from it, and then you were able to clear that, or pass the paper with flying colors. So that, in the sense, should show that you are diligent, and you're not just wasting your time. If like, even if you're not, even if you couldn't clear this, you were focusing on something else that was meaningful to you. And when you came back to it, and then when you did it and when you put your effort, you were able to do it with flying colors.
Right. So Randy, what would be your suggestion for this?
I think it can be, you can leverage this weakness into a strength. I mean, you can always say that, okay, fine, you haven't passed it in the first attempt, but later on you did it. So it's kind of, you are the person who has faced failure before and you know how to deal with failure. So you are like proven to deal with failure. So, sometimes dealing with failure and coming out of successfully is more important than somebody who has never failed in his life. So that way I would leverage this as my strength.
Right. Also, students want to know about internships, like how much important is, pursuing an internship before you get an admission. So does that affects your admission to IIMs? They have a lot of queries on this. If you would like to take on that.
So internships in admission process, uh, no, it's not counted at all. First of all, because they give weightage to work experience, and it should be full-time work experience, and it shouldn't be an internship. So for getting into IIMs, I don't think internship play a major role. It's just that you gain some relevant knowledge that you can leverage or you can direct towards the interviewers during interview, or they could give you some relevant info about the subjects that are going to be taught at the IIMs.
Okay.
That's pretty much about internship.
So also a lot of students have their interviews coming up for different IIM branches like IIM Rohtak, and they all want to know, especially I'll ask for IIM Rohtak, what type of questions students can expect during the interview. If you could share something on that.
I'm sorry, like I didn't take IIM Rohtak interview, so I can't tell about that.
So Anandi, would you have any suggestions on that?
So as far as I remember my interview, so it was quite general knowledge specific. But I know people who have converted without answering most of the questions correctly. Now that is because they grill you down to your GK stuff so that they can check the kind of attitude that you have when you don't know the answer to a factual question. So I think my interview was pretty much like a rapid fire of 20-25 GK questions shot at me and not much of personals and stuff. So I would say that be confident. Yes, if you're well read, that's fine. But if you aren't, then there is not much time left to cover up GK. So that is something which you can't do much about. Just be confident and with a smile, you can move on and say that, okay, I don't know the answer to a question or I can't recall the answer to a question.
Right. So while we were talking about, different modes, different things for appearing for a personal interview. So we also, heard about profile, as you and Mayank both mentioned about having a good profile, right? So students want to know how they can prepare a good profile, how they can make a good profile before they appear for the interview.
So about that, profile building is not the thing that can be done like overnight. So you have to have been working on that for quite some time, like 3 or 4 years. And again, like at IIM interviews, the only thing that matter is the things that are mentioned in application rating, and that which are the part of application ratings. Okay, like I mean, in IIM Ahmedabad, there is particular section about having some, national or internet, sorry, state or national level extracurriculars.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the thing. If you have done that, then that is a plus point. Otherwise, like there are people like me who'd have nothing to write there, but still, cracked IIM Ahmedabad interview. So that's the thing. It's nothing that like you should deliberately or like you can do overnight. But again, it's nothing that is going to hamper you if you have the bare essentials. You have good 10, 12th and grad marks, you have good percentile, and your PI goes nicely, then yeah, you can convert that. And about, again, coming back to the profile building. So yes, again, it doesn't matter at the interview very much. But after that, after you get into IIMs, it matters. It matters
Right.
a lot.
Right. So Anandi would like to say something on this.
Yeah, as I said before, for profile building purpose, you can obviously try to contact people who are already offering you live projects or internships, because there is no better way to learn than doing things on hand and try to keep up those points in your CV. Like, it's very important after you get into an IIM to have quantifiable points in your CV. And as Mayank said, both of us probably didn't have any national or international level achievements as Ahmedabad wanted, but in the end, we both converted it. So it's more like how much you can leverage what you have rather than cry about what you don't have. So if you have it, it's fine. But again, as he said, that in the application form, there are not many things which you can mention. So even if you have whatever profile little things you have in your profile, try to oversell that in the interview. When you're going for an interview, there are people who have done far better things than some who haven't done those, but still they're not able to sell themselves as good as somebody else. So whatever little you have, try to sell that to the maximum possible extent.
Great. So I have a very interesting question coming up from Likhit Nayak, and he probably wants to know that is it worth giving one more shot at CAT if you haven't got the call from the the established old IIMs, and you are going for the new IIMs branch. So would you suggest that like they should go for another shot and then try for the old established one, or joining the new ones is fine, is the same?
Well, I think I would be like a good candidate to answer that question because I was faced with a similar question. So actually, this time CAT 2020 was my second attempt. My first attempt, I got 98.9 percentile and didn't get call from any of the old IIMs.
Okay.
My best call was IIM Shillong at that time.
Okay.
And so yeah, I went forward. I took CAT again and got call from all the IIMs.
So
So
you would
again,
suggest there should be
yes, I
another
would
shot.
suggest yes, definitely suggest to because this the old IMs, there's the alumni base and there are other factors as well which give you a certain pedestal, and that's why you have that edge over the students from from say let's say new IMs. It's not that I mean that I'm comparing anything or as such. It's just that some certain quantifiable things like alumni base or where the better professors are attracted to, and which institute again has better professors and which the profiles are better. So in that terms, old lines definitely give you a certain pedestal.
Okay. So Swarnadhi, would you like to add on that, the new
Yeah,
ones or the old ones?
I think he summed it up beautifully, and probably I'm not the right person because it was my first attempt. So I won't be able to add too much to that. But yeah, what I can say is the postgraduate degree is probably the last degree for most people. So if you really want to, have your best shot at it, you can take one more year. And obviously, CAT is such an exam which is quite uncertain, to be honest. I mean, if the day is not really in your favor, then things can turn ugly. So if you have like extreme self-belief and confidence that okay, you are not satisfied with what you have right now and you think that you deserve a lot better sooner or later, then obviously you can go for another year.
Okay, so I think I have this next question for Mayank itself. So Pinkesh is there and wants to know, why did you choose IIM Bangalore over IIM A, and on which factors should we decide which college to compare and choose which college should we take up? So Mayank, if you would like to answer that.
Oh, definitely. That was that question. Like I haven't had or fretted upon that choice than any other choice in my life ever. So yeah. So the choice, it again based on it's again a subjective question. First of all, it based on the things that you care about, the things that you think will matter for you, and your profile basically. So since I had quite a long work experience of 3 years,
Mhm.
so I wanted to have a cohort which has more work experience, and that's why I am Bangalore. I chose I am Bangalore because the number of people with work experience here is more than I am Ahmedabad. Plus, definitely it was the campus, and weather again is one of the things that I thought about because like if you come to the bare bones, there is no difference between let's say I'm Ahmedabad, Bangalore, or Calcutta.
Okay.
They are all the same, and it's again based in again come back to those things which you focus on. So for me, it was being around the similar cohort,
Mhm.
and yeah, that is pretty much what I have to add for this question.
Right. So Swarnadeep, did you also have to face certain kind
Yes.
of same
Yeah, I
situation?
think the toughest decision I made was choosing Calcutta over Ahmedabad. But again, the main motivation of me coming into an MBA was finance. So being a CFA candidate as well, Calcutta was like the mecca of finance, and the kind of electives that are on offer, especially for the finance and economics domain in second year in Calcutta, was something which I was quite attracted to. So
Mhm.
I think that is why I made that conscious call of choosing Calcutta over Ahmedabad. But yeah, as Mayank said, it's I think to be honest, it's pretty much in the similar lines, all the three IIMs in the Holy Trinity, but it's just that whichever suits your profile the best, you can choose that.
Great. So we now also want to know, like, students want to know about the duration of the work experience you might need before you take up the admission and exam. So is there a particular duration mentioned that you should have at least this many years of work experience and then only you're eligible? Is there something like that?
Also, I think I'm a living example of that. I am a fresher, so no work whatsoever. The criteria mentions that you've just got to be in the last year of your graduation. Apart from that, yes, I mean, you make sure that the work is not like not way too much, so that you qualify for a executive MBA rather than a PGP one. So there's no such suggestion, but yes, statistically, that 2 to 3 year curve is like the sweet spot of work where you will get the statistical advantage in terms of the points for admission criteria.
Okay, so Mike, would you like to add certain things on this? The kind of
I
work
think
experience?
Sandeep has pretty much summed it all. So yeah, there is no minimum criteria at any IIM, and so they give you point based on the number of months of work experience that you have. So, and also the work experience is counted. Basically, let's say if you are appearing for CAT 2022, so your work experience will be counted, I think, on as of 1st July or 31st July 2022. So this year only. And even if you are continuing your work ex till, let's say, joining your IIM, so that will be a 1 year extra, and that won't be counted while you are appearing for the admission process. And also the grading is as such that it month wise. So I think the maximum is given for 36 months, and after that it again starts decreasing or it stagnates. So if again statistically you think of any sweet spot, then again it would be 2 to 3 years. Again, 3 years best at best.
Okay, so we have another question. Kirandeep Kaur wants to know, like, as you said that you did attempt twice, CAT. So what one can do during that gaps? What did you do during that gaps, between attempting the exams? What did you do between that time?
So first of all, I was continuing with my job. I didn't leave it, and yeah. So and coming to the reattempt part. So first of all, I think I started around March. In March and April month, I covered all the basics, and after that I started taking mocks. And yeah, so it was again mocks and everything, mocks, and analyze it, mocks, analyze. That's all. That was the pretty much the process. And every time, I tried to optimize on the strategy part as also, and the concept part as well. Try looking for shortcut, try looking for shorter, anything that could save time or anything that could, help you increase your number of attempts.
Right. So moving to Swarnadeep, is there, when you're going to appear for your GD or PI, so students also want to know about their physical appearance. I mean, how do they look, and they feel confident about facing them. So would you like to suggest something like how should they dress up and, be prepared, be mentally prepared and confident before appearing for the GD and PIs?
Yeah, so usually what is recommended is a very formal look. So you should be for people who are so I am assuming that most of the interviews will be from their home. So at least try to keep the top half of your in business formals, and for men it should be clean shaved. And so the most important part of it is you should be confident in your look. It's not like you're wearing something which is so heavy that you're profusely sweating. So try to be in an environment where your bandwidth and stuff is okay, and you are in a relatively cool place, because you'll be wearing a lot of business stuff, and that might just make you feel the heat. So try to be confident in there, and be comfortable with whatever you're wearing, because even if you're not wearing, let's say, something like a three piece or a tie, at least make sure that you are wearing absolute formals.
Okay. And Mayank, what would you like to add on this for suggesting the students?
Yeah, like I think Sandeep has connected it all. I will just put into pointers. Like the first one would be having a stable and good internet connection. Second would be formals, and third would be confidence. And like that, yeah, and you have to be at comfort so that you can think at your feet and with a cool mind. That's
Right.
That's all required.
Absolutely. Okay, so Arundhati wants to know how to balance work and CAT preparation. As in, I think, Mayank, you have already done that, so you could answer her well for this.
Okay, so I think first of all, what I did was restrict my work hours, because when you're working, the thing it happens that you overshoot. To deliver, when you have to deliver some things in you work for 10, 14 hours, 16 hours, but you really have to stop that at this time. And let's say when you are working, just dedicate 9 to 10 hours on that at max, and then you are done. Don't think about that. And apart from that time, there are few time slots. What I used to do was, before starting work, like let's say around, I think in the morning around 7 to 9, I used to study at that time. And then after my work is completed, let's say I think around again 7 to 8 in the night, so again I used to study for 2 to 3 hours during that time. So that's how you have to, like that was my what my strategy. And based on your working hours, or whatever is recommended from your company, or whatever, wherever you are working at, so you can try to cut down time and take out the time so that you can put that to preparation.
Right. So adding to that thing, did you take coaching classes for CAT? Like we have seen a lot of students, they want to know that should they go for coaching classes for CAT, or they can prepare themselves? And is there any particular coaching brand or name that can go really well with the students for that?
So about coaching, so for most of the part, I didn't take any coaching. But yeah, during the last time, so just that I don't lose the track, to be on the track, and so that I have this systematic preparation at the last moment, I took a crash course from iQuanta. So that was from my part. And like let's say full classroom course, anything, I didn't take any.
Okay. And Swarnadeep, would you like to add on this?
So
Your
my
preparation?
funda was very simple. I made my strategy based on mocks. So the only thing that I took was mocks of 3 institutes, and right from the month of May, I started giving out mocks. And apart from that, no classroom course or crash course as such.
Okay. So let's move on to our next question. Student wants to know, is CAT better than GMAT for a 3-year working professional, keeping in mind the scope and growth prospects? So if you would like to answer on that.
So again, that's again a subjective question. I think if you have the profile, if you have the required things that it takes, go for GMAT. I think who wouldn't want to get into Harvard or Stanford or Wharton? Really, those are really nice places. But again, it again depends on your personal constraints. What are the things that you value most, and your personal choices. So it's that again like number one student, like institute for MBA based on various ranking is, I think, INSEAD or Harvard or Stanford. It's not an IIM. So it boils down to your personal choices. Yeah.
Okay. So also, would also want to know, there's a question from a student that if he is from an IT field, so can he get into a non-IT major? Can he take admission into non-IT major? Because there might be a lot of students who will be changing this up.
So about that non-IT, first of all, yeah, there are many people who change, go from IT sector to other sector, because again, after an MBA, you are a manager, you are not an IT professional. So you won't be going back to that work. You will be managing that work at best. And so, and first of all, yeah, like there are many people who do that. There are many of my friends who worked earlier in IT, but now are, let's say switching to marketing domain. So that can definitely be done.
Okay. And Swarnadeep, would you like to say something on this?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there are a whole lot of choices apart from IT. So, staying in IT is the most difficult work after coming to MBA. So I would say, it's very easy to switch here, and you have a lot of interest. You're studying, all the subjects. It's a general program. So you have a hell lot of subjects to study, and then you can pick the electives of your choice to switch to that particular.
Okay. So we have another question from Aditya Barua. So he says there are 9 colleges under CAP. So if you can rank top 4, also which college is the best for operations under CAP or CAP? Then if you would like to take that.
That is so subjective that I think there'll be a lot of difference if anybody answers that. But so I would just ask him to go through, let's say, the website of the colleges and the placement reports and what his priorities are. But if I take a very general consensus that people have, so like Trichy and Ranchi and Raipur are probably the best colleges in Canada. So
Okay, so if we frame a question like this, that if we had to compare all the IIM branches, and if I would ask you that rate the best one out of all, so which one according to you is the best of all? I mean, students, it has to be the topmost one in a student's priority list.
so among all the IIMs,
Yes.
so it has to be Ahmedabad. I mean,
Okay.
unless someone has some different type of very specific priority like me and Mayank, it will be Ahmedabad.
Okay, and what according to you should be the top one, Mayank?
Top one, again, like I don't have any top one. It again, because it boils down to the subjectives. So objectively, again, you can't answer, because again, it's personal choice. You have to go there, you have to study, and you have to spend 2 years there, and the tag will be there with forever your life, for all of your rest of your life. So again, like ABC, anything you take, it's your choice, and there is no objective answer to that.
It's a privileged position to be in to make such a choice.
Exactly. I
I
mean, like
totally
I would again say, like, this was the toughest decision of my entire life to make. But again, like, I'm happier. Like, I don't think I would have been even, like, more happier at Ahmedabad or Calcutta.
right. Also, there's a student who wants to know, like, she's not clear about the specializations to choose yet, but is asking that shall I still go ahead with the admission if I'm not certain about the specializations to choose? Will that be a good decision?
Yes, definitely. I mean, no one is absolutely 100% sure of whatever is being taught in the MBA. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come to MBA in the first place. So you get to explore a lot of subjects in the first year itself, and views change from time to time as and when you explore the subjects. So someone might have found marketing very interesting until entering the MBA, and then after entering, he or she realizes that okay, productions and operations is probably better. So though that way you can always have. So that is the reason why you get to select your alternatives after studying all the core subjects in the second year. So there's a reason why people wanted to go through everything, have a feel and taste of what all subjects look like, and then select the ones which suit you the best.
Absolutely. So as we move towards concluding our session, we'll just like to take last one or two questions from our students, and then probably we could move towards the conclusion. So Ayush wants to know which IIM is best for foreign trade. So since you are more interested in trading, I think you could answer best on this.
So Ayush, see, if you want to be in trading, then you have to come to Am Calcutta with the trading and finance laboratory, which is the only one in India right now.
Okay, I think that really helps him. All right, so we have another question. Which is better for graduation for a good impact in PIs, St. Xavier's, Mumbai, or Delhi University? So we could just quickly answer on that, Mayank.
Like, I'm sorry, I'm not the right person to answer that question.
Both of us are not the right ones.
Great. So
But
I
yeah, it
think
doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter, to be honest. You can do with both.
right. So I think we are almost towards our end of the session, and I think the students can see a feedback poll on the screens. So I would request all the students who have joined us to kindly fill up the feedback form, as that will help us to improvise further for our next sessions. And I hope the session was useful and informative for all of you who have joined us. And also, I would like to thank Swarnadeep and Mayank for taking out time and being with us on this session. So before rolling out, if you would like to add up something and advise the students, Swarnadeep, starting with you.
So my advice to every student would be, irrespective of whatever happens in your GDPI, it's a session of GDPI. So you will have probably 5-6 interviews during this entire season. So whatever happens in one of the PIs, please don't let that dent your confidence for the next one. It's very important that you might think that you have had a very bad PI or a very good PI in that matter, but do not carry forward that emotion to the next one, because whatever you are thinking about your PI, the panelists might take it in a very different way. So I have personally had some experiences where I have had the worst of PIs and still converted it. So do not let that nervousness stream into the next one. Be confident, and in every single PI, treat it like an independent one.
Thank you, Swarnadeep, for that piece of advice. Mayank, what would you like to advise?
Like first of all, I would re-emphasize what Swandeep said. Like, do not carry any baggage from past to the next interview. And on top of that, like think of interviews like a conversation. Like you are talking and you're, be at your best and be at your casual best. That you are taking questions. Okay, like it doesn't matter that one question you couldn't answer or one, let's say, part didn't go well. Answer the next question with as much the freshness as you started the interview with.
Right. So I think that really ends up well over here. So thank you so much, Mayank and Swarnadeep, for joining us here and for all your valuable advices. And I also wish all the students who are going to appear for the GDPIs best of luck, and we hope you pass out with flying colors. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us here on this session.